like the title suggests. In today's video, we're going to be doing an unboxing and overview. We have the COUGAR MG120-G computer case. We're going to be looking at the specs of this case. We're going to be taking it out of the box. I'm going to be giving you my first impressions of what this $40 computer case offers you. Let me flip you over here and we'll run down through the specs here on Newegg. Alright, here we are on Newegg. Like I said, it is the COUGAR MG120-G black, elegant, and compact mini tire case with tempered glass side panel. And as you can see, as the day of this filming, it does run about $39. Okay, the specs on it. The brand is a COUGAR. The model is the MG120-G. It is a micro ATX mini tire. It is black. Case materials is steel and tempered glass. With power supply, no, so you have to buy your own power supply. When you do buy it, it does mount at the bottom. Motherboard capabilities is micro ATX and mini ITX. If you want a full-size system, you'll have to go with a different case. It does have a side panel window. Expansion bays. It does have internal 3.5-inch drive bays, is 2. It has internal 2.5-inch bays, drive bays, 2+2, converted from 3.5-inch drive bays. And then it also has 2 trays for 2.5-inch drive bays. Expansion slots is 4. It is a micro ATX case after all. Front ports, one USB 2.0, one USB 3.0, audio in and out, and a reset button. I'm sure it's got a power button someplace, but we'll have to see about that when we take it out of the box. Cooling, fan options. You have the front will take 3 120s or 2 140s. The top will take 2 120s or 2 140s. The rear, which will take a 1 120, which is pre-installed for you. Radiator options. In the front, it'll take a 280 millimeter, 240 millimeter, 140 millimeter, or 120 millimeter. On the top, it will take a 240 millimeter, 140 millimeter, 120 millimeter. Max component height on motherboards is 40 millimeters. The rear, you can put a 120 millimeter radiator on the back of it. Dimensions and weight. Max GPU length is 330 millimeters. CPU cooler height is 175 millimeters. Max PSU length is 160 millimeters. Dimensions, height, width, and depth is 16.3 inches by 8.27 inches by 15.175 inches. Weight is 11.53 pounds. Here's some of the other features that they have listed for you. If you want to pause the video and go through them, I'm not going to read them all to you. And it was first available on July the 9th of 2020. Alright guys, if you guys have never heard of COUGAR, they've been around for quite some time. They've always made computer cases. They have been one of the more budget solutions or one of the more budget options in computer cases over the years. But for $40 with something that has tempered glass side panel, and by looking at the photos, it looks like it does have a PSU shroud at the bottom to hide all them covers. I think this case is worth taking a look at for $40. Let me get reset up here and we'll take this thing out of the box, and then I'll be back with my conclusion to this video. Alright, now since we went down through the specs of what this case offers you, let's take it out of the box here and we'll get a first impression of it. There we go. That's the first impressions of the first look at the side panel, which is tempered glass side panel. Now let's start out with the top up here. It does have a magnetic dust filter on top, which is pretty nice for a $40 case. Your front buttons, like I suspected, you do have a power button. You have a reset button, USB 3, USB 2, microphone in, headphones out, headphones out and microphone in. Pretty common layout on top. Here in front of it, on the front of it, let's peel it. There we go. Well, it's like a plexiglass in front. Looks like you got a little bit of air that's able to go up the sides of it. Nothing on the top or the bottom of it, but you do have a little bit of ventilation here on the sides of it, between the plastics. And you do have the COUGAR brand marking there. Pull the front cover off of it. There we go. At least it ain't tethered. And I don't know if you can see the light through that or not, but there is some room between the plastics right through here for ventilation. Not a whole lot. And then of course you got the little cutout at the bottom here where you pull it off with. You can also get a little bit of ventilation up into the case. It's kind of nice on a cheap case like this that it ain't tethered. It does have a removable dust filter, it looks like here. Okay guys, you take off this, you got a thumb screw right here in the front, you take off this thumb screw. And this filter should pop off here. Maybe. There we go. It does have a removable dust filter, which if you want more circulation in your case, you can probably take it completely off. Alright guys, by looking at the bottom here, looks like you got a few slots up here for, looks like you can put some SSDs or maybe some 3.5-inch hard drives up here if you need to on the bottom. Does have a removable dust filter over the PSU, which that's pretty nice. Even some of the more expensive cases don't even have a filter like that for the PSU, so that's pretty nice. With them feet, it looks like you got quite a bit of a clearance there. I don't have a tape measure handy, but my guesstimation probably be a 3/4 of an inch to an inch. So you have plenty of airflow on the bottom of the case if it's standing up on its feet. By looking at the back of the case here, there's your 120 that is pre-installed for you for the fan. There's your I/O shield. There's your 4 expansion slots, which this is a cheaper case, so you will have to break them out, whichever ones you need for your graphics card. Which means they won't be replaceable if you decide to upgrade your GPU or something. You will have to break them completely out. The PSU, there's no shroud to it. Looks like it just fits in from the backside panel and slips in, which is pretty common in these cheaper cases. Alright guys, let's take this tempered glass side panel off here and we'll get into the inside of it here. It is a pretty dark tint on this one. Of course, being a $40 case, you're lucky you even got tempered glass, let alone have it see-through. Put the screws over there, see how this thing comes off. Alright guys, we got the 4 thumb screws off. The little notch at the bottom, you pull it off at. And I don't know if you can tell how dark that actually is, but that is a pretty dark side panel. Alright, by looking at the inside, of course you ain't gonna have no grommets on your cutouts. You know, this is a $40 case after all. You do have 2.5-inch drive sleds up here in front on top of your basement. It does have a full basement for your PSU with a cutout for you can show your name brand in your PSU if you'd like to. Alright guys, and from the inside here you can get a better look at the fan that's pre-installed into the case, which looks like it is a DC fan. It's got a 3-pin header on it, or you could run it off a Molex, whichever way you prefer, which personally I'd rather hook it up to the motherboard, but it's just my opinion. Looks like there may be some slots over here for some kind of water cooling maybe. If you want to put a rise pump or something over here. Alright guys, take off this back panel, take off these 2 thumb screws. I had to loosen them up off camera with a screwdriver. And just take and pull it back just a little bit. I don't know, what is that, 1/2 inch, 1/4 of an inch. Pull it down off. Alright, and looking at the back, and I do have to say, you know, for a $40 case, these edges on the metal that's been cut out ain't real sharp, which is nice to see. The rolled edges where you ain't gonna cut yourself on them, or it's gonna be harder to cut yourself on them. Looks like you got pretty well the same layout as most cases. This is your wire routing. You got a couple up here at the top. You got a couple down here across the front. And something else I didn't point out at the front. You got a few down here, back next to your motherboard tray, where you can get your wires up through as well. There's a little bit better look at that decent cutout out here for your radiator and fans, if you want to put a radiator and fan in the front of it. far as cable management back here, you got quite a bit of room. You got a little bit of a bezel right here. So if you got to run your wires up over top of that, it may be a little tight on that back panel, but still yet you got at least a finger width or so. So it shouldn't be too bad on cable management. Looking at your front port and umbilicals, your front panel cabling here. Should be pretty simple. Should be pretty laid out. There's your front HD audio. There's your USB 2. And of course there's your USB 3. So you must not have a hard drive activity light on this case. You got a power LED, a reset switch, and a power switch. Okay, then down here's your two 3.5 inch drives, which you can also put 2.5 inch drives in, by the way the specs read on it. Now here's your box of goodies. This comes in a plain white box. Yeah, looks like you use these prongs here for your 3.5 inch drives. And down here's your screw holes for your 2.5 inch drives. Alright guys, like I said before, it looks like your PSU slides in from this side and slides back, and you put your 4 screws in it to hold it down, just like the old style used to be. It looks like it's not too bad of a case. Of course your back panel was a little wobbly when you're putting in your I/O shield or you're doing your graphics card down here. Maybe a little wobbly, but you'll expect that on a cheaper case. Let's see what all they added in the goodie box for us. See what kind of goodies they gave us, if anything. Box is empty. They got a little bit of a user guide, I guess. It'll kind of take you down through how to do everything. Show you all the components of the case and whatnot. Okay, then you got a baggie here. There we go, with some zip ties. Looks like they give you 4 or 5 zip ties for your cable management. Looks like they give you one bag with a bunch of screws in it. Like your hard drive screws is going to be in there. It's got a few extra standoffs in there. I'm not seeing no tool to help put your standoffs in or out. But it looks like you got motherboard screws in there, and you got hard drive screws in there. You got a couple extra standoffs in there. And of course your motherboard screws and your SSD screws should be about the same. They're usually both fine thread ones. So yeah, it's pretty basic screw kit, which they ain't separated no way for you. But that's pretty well the unboxing part of it. Let me get reset up here and I'll come up with the conclusion to the video for you guys. Alright guys, we went down through the specs, showed you what this thing offers you. We took it out of the box, showed you everything that comes with it. For $40, I think it's a pretty good little case. The airflow may not be the best in it because it does only have them 2 little slits in the front and that one little hole in the bottom where you disconnect the front panel. But if you're looking at a $40 case, I don't think you're going to be building with real hot components, so I think it'd be alright. It does have the tempered glass side panel, which everybody wants. It's got the full basement to it that everybody wants. You know, that way you don't have to spend extra money on a semi-modular or modular power supply. You can have all them unnecessary cables underneath. There was a few corners that I feel it was cut on this case, but for $40 you can expect that. You know, they added a 120 fan in the back. There was no lights to it, which I think it'll be alright for a mid-level gaming PC. The metal in the back where you put the I/O shield in and where the GPU mounts up, it's a little bit flimsy. But once your side panels and everything is on it, it seems like it's a pretty sturdy case all over. But I think COUGAR did a pretty good job on this case. I think it's well worth the $40 for everything that it offers you. And I think it'd be worth considering for your next budget gaming PC build. If you like this kind of content, make sure you go down and give me a like. If not, there's that dislike button. There's also a comment section. I'll go through them every weekend on my live stream here at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in the U.S. on Saturday mornings. If you really like this kind of content, make sure you hit that sub button and that notification bell where you're notified next time I put out a video. I'll go live on here on YouTube. And also I'm on Instagram and Twitter. I don't kill your inbox, but I do put up photos of new products I got coming in here in the studio to give you an idea of what's coming up on the channel. And if there's anything that changes with my live stream, if I got to cancel or if I got to change the time of it, that's also where you get that information. But with all that being said, you all have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video or live stream.